It's the Ross Tucker Football Podcast.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. I never do that. I'm bringing it for you guys for 25 to 30 minutes every episode, every day. It is a Wednesday, which means we're going to dive into some of these rookie draft picks with Joe Dolan on the Fantasy Feast podcast today. So you got to know what you need to be thinking about for all these rookies from a fantasy perspective that got drafted. So we'll do every position, starting with quarterbacks today for the rookies, so you guys can get a feel for your best ball drafts over at DraftKings, which is who we are presented by. Tomorrow already, we'll get Greg Cosell's biggest takeaways and thoughts from the NFL draft, and I'll announce the Spread the Word winner via social media, whether that's someone that does something with at Ross Tucker NFL or at Ross Tucker Pod on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or even TikTok. And then we'll also have the sponsor confirmation email winner, some awesome sponsors this week. Love ExpressVPN. The Game Time app is amazing. Raycon earbuds, like I rock the Raycon earbuds every day. And then YouTube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Looks like more and more people are watching the show on video, which is amazing. So fired up, by the way, for today's guest. You know, takes me back like 22 years, which makes me feel crazy old. But it's the newest member of the Denver Broncos. His name is Henry Byrd. Yes, he's a Princeton grad, but I love hearing the stories of how these guys found out what team they were going to get signed with, how it all went down. So let's dive into it with Henry. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, you definitely want to check him out on social media at Hen Byrd. It's so fun to actually see you, Henry. I've watched so many of your games the last 4 years. Dude, I feel like you started like every game for 5 years. Am I misremembering or something? It seemed like you were left tackle for like as long as I can remember for Princeton.
Yeah, I've been there for a while. You know, after 5 years, you kind of feel like you've never left.
It's crazy. So you did. Because you guys missed a year.
Yeah, we had the whole COVID situation, which, man, that talk about messing up a draft class, messing up eligibility, man. You can't even figure out where anybody is.
But that had to be so brutal to just not, like, you're the only guys that didn't get a chance to play the whole year.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. You know, sitting back home because campus was still shut down too. You know, just having to watch like college game day and you know, having to watch just the Big Ten on noon, just sitting there like, man, that should be me right now. Like, I can't believe I'm just sitting on my couch in my pajamas right now. Like, I just want to go out there and play. So it was pretty tough during that year, but you know, that was the extra motivation, just watching every Saturday to get up Monday morning and lift. And, you know, once we finally did get to go back out there in 2021, man, it was something special.
Can't even imagine, dude. Well, I actually can, because there was a couple times where I got cut and was out of the league for a few weeks or, you know, whatever, until somebody else signed me. So I guess I kind of can. Man, that first game after Buffalo cut me and I was at my in-laws' house and like the NFL games were on the TV. That was bad. All right. So obviously when you go to Princeton, where both of us went, you're not really, and by the way, I'm not even just wearing this Princeton shirt because you're on the show today. It's literally like all I wear. Like Cliff and the guys in the equipment room, like they give me so much gear that like I just wear Princeton stuff like every day. But when did you first think about the NFL? Like when did you first think? Because most guys, I know I did not go to Princeton thinking NFL at all, like not even a little bit. In fact, I probably thought I'm not going to the NFL, so I should go to Princeton or Harvard and get the best degree I can. When did you first kind of think about it?
Yeah, coming out of high school, you know, I was still a little dejected that, you know, none of the big SEC offers around me ever came in. And, you know, you want to go get, you know, your best possible degree. But freshman year, I played a bunch and even started a game at right tackle after some injuries. So in my end of year meeting, our old offensive line coach, the coach who recruited me, Coach Arik, he sat me down and he was like, hey, like your potential is much, much higher than just being an Ivy League football player. Like you have a shot to go to the NFL if you really want it and you really want to work for it. And that was kind of the moment that first time I was ever like, yeah, I do want to do that. I mean, who doesn't want to? Like, you grow up as a kid running around, you go on Halloween, you put on the little helmet and jersey, and that's what you always want to do. And then you get older and you try to be realistic about the situation. But hearing that your childhood dream once again is like still possible and it's still something you can chase after, it's a pretty great feeling. And so the 5 years, especially with COVID, I was pretty undersized. That helped me put on that extra mass, extra strength that I really needed to take my game to like that next level. And 5 years later, here I am, signing with the Broncos.
It's awesome, man. Awesome. I think so. My freshman year, I actually started a couple games at the end for Princeton, and in the spring, Matt Burke got drafted in the 6th round out of Harvard. He got drafted by the Vikings, and in spring ball they had moved me to offensive line. So that was the first time where I was like, wait a minute. I played against him as a DN as a freshman. He was good, but like I wasn't like, oh my gosh. And now I'm playing offensive line. Like if he can get drafted, maybe I can at least get signed or get a chance. So that was sort of my first time I ever really even considered it. I'm curious, Henry, I know it's changed a lot since I went through it a long time ago now. What was the pre-draft process like? Where were you working out? Was it just the pro day, or did other offensive line coaches come to work you out? Do you actually talk to a bunch of the teams? Kind of take my listeners through what the pre-draft process was like for you.
Yeah, I mean, and it's different for everybody. But right after the season, you try to find an agent, and I got connected with Joe Lenta, who was your agent as well, and only heard the highest things from him. And one of the things that Joe specializes in is really finding guys who have that shot, but no one really is looking at. That's really what happened with you, and it's what happened with me. So I was graduated, and luckily enough, there's a really great training facility called X3 here in Nashville that a bunch of pro guys go to, and have a really great pre-draft combine training. So I went there, and I heard some stuff. I talked to a couple of teams, but it really hadn't exploded yet. Then pro day comes around, and I had a pretty great pro day. Moved well, did great in the position drills. Did really well on like the bench press and all the jumping stuff. So after I turned some heads there, that was kind of when it really, really picked up for me. So after that, I did a couple private workouts for some teams, and went to a couple of the local pro days for local teams in the Jersey area. And so I had a pretty good idea that I was going to be signed after the draft because of that. Really did well in all of those. So, it was really just sitting there during the 7th round, seeing if, your name's going to get called, or, right after the draft, or you're going to go with the best free agent option.
Okay. So let's talk about that. Did you think you were going to get drafted? And take the listeners through the 7th round, because I know that they call you guys now before the draft is over. Like I know, I mean, look, some of these guys, Tom Pelissero from NFL Network, he announced like the first signing like 3 seconds after the draft ended, right? Like So 7th round, like what percentage chance did you think you might get drafted? And then, what was it like? Were they calling you, or were they calling Joe, or both of you?
Yeah, so I knew there was some chance, and it was really kind of down to like the scheme that each team ran, and sort of how they saw me fitting into it. So whether or not they had taken anybody earlier in the draft who was, a interior swing lineman like I am now, or whether or not they ran, a heavy zone concept scheme. So you're kind of just playing the numbers game the entire 7th round, like who's this team taking, what's their interest level in me. So I was maybe like considering like a 1 in 4 chance. You obviously want to hear your name called, but that doesn't happen for everybody, obviously. So you immediately had something lined up right after, O-line coach of the Broncos. We had talked a couple of times before, and we were talking back and forth during the course of the draft. He himself was a 7th-round pick, so he was very understanding of, like, I get how stressful this can be towards the end. So he was really kind of comforting, honestly, with how everything was going down. And then, you want to hear your name called, but it's not. But immediately after, you already kind of have your deal in place and you know where you're going. So immediately after the draft, it's, well, you get to say you're an NFL player 10 minutes later than everybody else at the end of the day. Like, it's, that feeling is still just unbelievable. And it's really nothing like you've ever felt before, honestly.
I had one of your teammates, Andre Yosivas, on the show, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. And I told him my story because it was different for me, Henry. I didn't even know if I was going to get signed. So for me, it was like I was out of my mind excited. I should have celebrated with some Labatt Blue Lights. I didn't. But if you really want to take things to the next level, drink some Labatt Blue Lights with your friends and live life to the power of we. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. Actually, now that I think about it, I ran right out to Cottage. I might have had a couple Labatt Blue Lights right after that. I don't know for sure. I definitely probably had something. So I guess I want to know, like what other teams did you consider and why did you pick the Broncos? Because I know that there were other teams that were interested in you. So what other teams did you consider and why did you pick the Broncos? What were the factors that led you, in addition to the offensive line coach, Zach Streif, by the way, who's an awesome guy. Awesome guy. I'm glad you're with him. But just kind of, when did you kind of know it would be Denver and why?
Yeah, so some of the other teams that were looking at me were San Francisco, New Orleans, and the Titans, actually, back here in Nashville. It was sort of like scheme is really one of the big things. Playing for a Sean Payton offense, one of the greatest offensive minds, that's something that's very, very intriguing. So scheme fit was a big thing I looked for at all the teams. Would I be in a good position, to thrive in that offense? Another thing was just looking at depth. Coming from an Ivy League school, you're going to need a little bit of time to develop and, where those opportunities would be. And frankly, the thing that put the Broncos over the top was they seemed like they had the best plan of development for me, sort of the best understanding of my game, and the best vision of, how can I personally take it to the next level and have a successful career.
All right. So Henry, mini camp is it this weekend or next weekend?
It's next weekend.
All right. So what has Joe told you? What are your thoughts on minicamp? What position are you going to be playing?
So I'm starting out at guard, but there's not a lot of people who can say that I'll play some center, I'll play some tackle. So I'm going to be swinging across the whole entire line. That's one of my big appeals. But as far as getting ready for minicamp, I got to get ready for the altitude change. That's going to be a big one. So I've been getting on the Stairmaster every single day, getting like 25, 30 minutes in, getting that heart rate up, trying to acclimate myself as close as I can.
Love it. All right. I've got a couple pieces of advice for you. Ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Number one, none of those guys are your friends. Okay? I'm not saying you have to be mean to them, but they're not your friends. You have plenty of friends from high school. You have plenty of friends from college. You are there to earn a job, period. You don't need to be friendly with any of them. Number two, whatever the level of intensity is, you need to press the limit, okay? If the coaches tell you to calm down, if the coaches tell you need to pull back a little bit, you need to relax, that's a good thing. That's a good sign, right? So whatever the level of physicality is or intensity, you set it. You push the limit. You want them to have to tell you to relax. The next thing is Coach Streif is going to show you some different techniques. You need to do them as well as you possibly can. I don't care if at night you go back to the hotel room and you practice them so that the next day or the next practice, he's like, wow, that Henry Byrd kid, I mean, I showed it to him once and the next day he was already doing it well. You already hinted at this. You need to know what you're doing at every spot. And if there's a chance to take a rep at any of the other spots, you do it, period. Because that provides a lot of value if you show, even in the rookie minicamp, that you can play multiple positions. So that would be my things. Number one, you're not there to make friends. Number two, you push the limit of the physicality and the intensity. Number three, practice the O-line coach's techniques as much as you can so that you're the one that shows that you can learn them the fastest. And number four, be ready, willing, and able, in fact, volunteer to go in at any position at any time. So they're like, holy crap, the Princeton kid can already play all 5 spots. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Dude, I get, like, even just talking to you, man, like, I get chills. Like, I want to go kill somebody. Like, I remember it. Like, you know what's so funny? You'll appreciate this because you grew up in Nashville. I played guard at Princeton. And my first minicamp, they moved me to right tackle because I was tall and they needed. So I hadn't even played tackle at Princeton. I'm playing tackle. I had our DNs at Princeton after I got signed line up a yard off sides so I could get used to the speed, okay? And the guy I was going against, his name was Terry Bryant. He was second team all ACC DN, I don't know, like 6'4", 280. Dude, I just kept blocking him. Like, I had never gone up against an ACC guy from Clemson. I just kept blocking him. And I remember I kept thinking, like, when's he going to turn the Clemson on? Like, when's he going to turn the good on? And I realized, like, they're really not that great. I mean, they're good. Don't get me wrong. But I think I had built them up so much in my head, I actually thought they'd be better than they were. Like, they're not any better than you, dude. They're not. And I'm trying so – I don't swear on my podcast, so I'm not going to, but I'm trying so – I mean, I want to swear so bad. Like, what's the best? The heck with those guys, okay? That's how I'll say it. The heck with those guys. They're not any better than you are. Gosh, I'm so pumped for you. The last thing, because I know this always gets talked about with you. You're probably sick of it already, but I've read a couple articles. Tell me about the tap dancing thing. So you were in a play in high school, which, by the way, if that's true, that's amazing. I wish I had been in a play. And you had to tap dance for it or something? What's the deal?
Yeah, no, I've talked about the tap dancing a million times. And, you know, it used to kind of just be my fun fact. And now it's just like the lead thing everybody knows about me. So I'm not really surprising anybody anymore. I got to get a new one. So we had like some art classes requirements in high school back at Innsworth High School. And one of the classes was called Dance for Athletes, and you do a bunch of different dance styles in it. And I took it as a freshman, and, you know, as we went through all the different styles, all the ballet and, you know, whatnot, one of the things we did was tap dancing, and turns out I was actually pretty good at it and really liked it. So I took Dance for Athletes too, stuck with it. And that kind of snowballed too. By the time my senior year rolled around, I was in like an honors dance class. And one of the things that we did was you could design like a little project. And so for like the spring like dance concert, I did Singing in the Rain with like 6 people on the dance team. So I was the only guy out there, and it was 6 girls on the dance team just doing Singing in the Rain. It was unbelievable. I still can't believe that I did it. It was so funny.
That is awesome. Says a lot about you, not only your footwork, but your confidence, right? That you would do that like a big O lineman or whatever would do that. Henry, thank you so much for coming on the show. Love watching you the last 5 years. Congrats on all your success. Congrats on signing with the Broncos. And, dude, you can do this. You can freaking do this. I know you can. Just go out there and be confident as you should be. You're as good as any of those guys. Man, I know I would not be a good coach. I would swear every other word. Henry, thanks, dude.
I appreciate you, Ross. Thanks for everything over the last 5 years too, man.
All right, there he is, Henry Byrd. He is awesome. Raycon wireless earbuds are awesome. Look, I have in my hand right now. More and more people are watching the show on video, which is amazing. I love these things. Like, I am borderline obsessed with Raycon earbuds. every purchase needs to be perfect, they have buy now, pay later options. Right now, you can pay as low as $18 at checkout. There's a reason why they have 50,000 five-star reviews. I gotta be honest with you, I like that they don't stick out of my ears. Why do you want the weird ones that stick out of your ears? You can't even see when I have these in with their custom gel tips. Go to buyraycon.com/Tucker today to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/Tucker to score 15% off. Buyraycon.com/Tucker.
Tuck's Takes.
All right, Ross, we'll start with the Packers signing Jordan Love to a one-year extension through 2024. It's worth up to $22.5 million, including $13.5 million fully guaranteed.
I like this compromise. I don't think the Packers wanted to be on the hook for over $20 million next year if he ends up not being the guy. And Jordan Love, I think, wanted to lock in $13.5 million in case he's not good, right? I mean, he gets to at least lock that in and also makes it seem like he's got a 2-year window to be the quarterback. That's not true, by the way, because they will absolutely move on from him if he stinks this year. But in his mind, at least he's got that financial security. That makes sense to me.
Tuck's Takes.
So the fifth-year options for 2022 or 2020 first-round picks would be exercised yesterday, other than the Jordan Love one we just mentioned. Anything else stand out to you?
Only 12 guys, Jack. Only 12 guys had their fifth-year options picked up. That says a lot, right? I mean, we always say, you can't grade a draft for 3 years. Well, that's a decent grade, right? Like those teams, they don't get A's or A pluses for those guys if they're not picking up their fifth-year option. So it says a lot who does and who doesn't get their fifth-year option picked up.
Tuck's Takes.
Some signings across the league. Jets sign offensive lineman Billy Turner to a one-year, $3.5 million deal. Bills pick up defensive tackle Poona Ford and running back Latavius Murray. And the Chiefs bring back running back Jerick McKinnon.
Well, McKinnon was awesome for the Chiefs. I always thought it made sense for him to go back there. I like the Bills picking up a power back and Murray, a D tackle. Like the Bills realize they need to get more physical. So I like that. And then the Jets, again, getting Billy Turner. He's got guard tackle versatility. Just reinforced what I said about the draft.
Tuck's Takes.
Some terrible news. Buccaneers offensive outside linebacker Shaq Barrett's 2-year-old daughter passed away in a family pool.
Absolutely awful. There is nothing else to say other than I'm thinking about Shaq Barrett's entire family and hope that they can, find a way to get through this.
Tuck's Takes.
Colorado head coach Deion Sanders is ashamed at 31 NFL teams for only drafting one player from an HBCU college.
This is going to be my Labatt take of the week, presented by Labatt Blue Light, the pristine Canadian Pilsner. Enjoy your beers together so you can live life to the power of we. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. I'm ashamed that Deion is ashamed that the NFL teams didn't draft more HBCU players. What a poor choice of words. Maybe disappointed. So let me get this straight. The guy that just ran off pretty much every scholarship kid at Colorado so he could bring in better players, college kids on scholarship, is mad because the NFL teams draft who they think are the best players? I mean, Deion, there was only 2 guys from the Missouri Valley Football Conference, which is the best FCS conference. 1 guy from the CAA, which is great football. 1 guy from the Ivy League. I mean, Deion, you know that these teams are just trying to take the best players, period, to try to win. No idea why he would be ashamed. Makes no sense to me. And I'm ashamed that Deion is ashamed. I mean, seriously. Like, what? Why would you say that? Ashamed. That has a very different connotation to it. That bothers me. I mean, maybe he's just sticking up for his guys, but come on. Speaking of come on, listen to the Fantasy Feast podcast today. We are breaking down rookie quarterbacks for your fantasy team. I think we're done here.
Thanks for listening to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Fantasy Feast, Even Money, Business of Sports, and College Draft. All available at Apple Podcasts, rosstucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.
How about some shout outs before we go? MyFrontPageStory.com, by far the best Mother's Day gift ever. BackOfficeSchedule.com, Evergreen Economics, Go-Bengals.com, SteakhouseSports.com, HumanHeadNYC.com, Sporticulture, and Pizza Boy Brewing. Now I think we're definitely done here.